Viewers leaving comments on my videos probably don't think that they're suddenly going to turn into an actual video topic, but that's what I want to talk about today. Yesterday I posted a video talking about the exchange of your time, your career for holidays and what that actually looks like. It came from a viewer who had emailed me, Grant, raised the topic, asking me if I had considered that now that I've been out of work for 2 years, it's almost equates to the exact same amount of time that I would have had as holiday entitlement over a 31-year career. Taking 28 days a year as holiday and multiplying that by that 31-year career, coming out at about 868 days holiday, which is about 2 and a bit years worth of time off. But the comments below the video were excellent, and for once I get to remove myself from this situation. I'm not the subject of the topic here, it's actually you, the viewers, and I'm going to share with you the juxtaposition of what it's like to read through comments on these kind of topics, and share with you two that I had received yesterday that I thought were quite interesting, and how they actually play off against each other, and just share this narrative, right? So we're talking about the exchange of your time, your personal time, in exchange for a salary, a job, right? And being allowed to have time off, holidays 2 weeks in a year, or time off at Christmas. That was the subject matter that came from Grant. Now I had a comment from a viewer called Seshi22 who says it was a really great topic, obviously got them thinking about it, and two immediate thoughts that came out of this situation, and that's that had I considered just not pursuing the career ladder, and with hindsight, could I just have capped my career progression at some point? Could I have just taken a lower grade job, earned, instead of 147 grand a year, earned more like a 70 grand a year salary, and that might have given me more time, right? Now, I've responded back to this comment and I stated, fair question, I think it's a fair point. Now, the reason that I wanted to highlight this one is because in the same comment from Seshi, they mentioned that in their own job, they're actually able to buy holiday time from their employer. It's a feature or benefit not available at all companies, but certainly more modern companies are adopting these kind of approaches. Yvonne's business that she worked in for the last 8 years before she went through redundancy allowed her to buy an extra 5 days holiday, and she would do that every year. But Seshi admits that they actually don't do that because they don't want to they don't want to give up some of their salary. And my response to that was, you're asking me if I had considered earning less in order to potentially have more time, but when you're offered the availability of time, you choose not to because of the financial impact. And I felt that we were both kind of talking about the same dilemma, but opposite sides of the fence. Now, so Seshi's point, did I ever think to just not earn as much money to kind of cap it, right? Now, I'm not going to answer that point, right? I'm actually going to jump to another viewer's comment, this time from a viewer called Oliver, and Oliver writes in great detail about his salaried position, the number of hours that he's putting into the job, finding himself now committing to a mortgage, a 25-year mortgage, and also sharing some deep thoughts there that his family just doesn't understand the pressures that he's in, right? So on one hand, I've got Seshi saying, did you ever think to just earn a little bit less money? And then Oliver at the opposite side of that, sharing that they're living this world right now, this career path, fighting for every penny, taking up a mortgage to buy a house to give his family some stability, and his family not recognising the pressures and all of this. So Oliver's basically saying the 38-hour week is a myth, and I would agree. Overtime becomes normalised. The company comes and takes more and more and more from you. That holidays aren't really restorative because simply the work follows you, and that's exactly what I was narrating in my video yesterday. The workload never leaves Oliver's head, right? Just constantly living in a world of thinking about the job. His family doesn't understand what he's going through, and he feels frustrated by this, signing up to a 25-year mortgage that he doesn't really want. and he keeps telling himself he'll ease off once a few assets improve. Now, I found that fascinating. Thank you so much, Oliver and Seshi. Neither of those two people are wrong in this situation, but when highlighted together, right? Oliver, have you never thought about just not climbing the career ladder? Have you ever thought about just having a smaller house? Have you ever thought about just sharing these struggles with your family? Hindsight is an incredible thing, right? I'm 48 years old. I'm sitting in Penang in a house right now, the rain coming down over my shoulders. It's easy for me to think about sitting right now saying to the 35-year-old me, John, what are you doing going through this promotion? Well, do you really need that extra little bit of money? What difference is it going to make to you? Surely you value time over the money. But in the midst of all of that, right, how many people would honestly sit down when you're pursuing the career ladder, when you're doing all of the things that you think you're supposed to do, right? All of the things, you know, accumulating, trying to build a family structure, trying to build a bit of wealth for your family, trying to give yourself stability through a house. How easy is it 10, 12, 15 years down the line to look back on that and say, I could have made some different decisions and all of that. So I found those two positions absolutely fascinating, and what I found the most telling from Oliver's statement is that he used a line which was, I've been saying this for years. So Oliver knows this. Oliver knows exactly what he's sharing, that he's been thinking this for years, and yet hasn't made any change because he's living it. He's living it day to day right now. And again, from Seshi's perspective, have you thought about just not earning as much money? Have you thought about just turning down that promotion that comes along? Have you thought about just not taking those out of hour calls? Have you thought about just not being contactable when you're on holiday? Fascinating topic, and for once, like, I'm not really in the midst of this, right? I shared Grant's viewpoint yesterday and added some colour to it from Yvonne and I's perspective of taking a year's sabbatical and finding herself going through redundancy. And for me, you know, did I ever think about just not pursuing that next position? Well, I did. That was last year. Last year I found myself sitting going, do I want to have another job? Do I want to go back in selling products, same as what I was doing, going back? And before I know it, just another year, just another couple of years to add to my pension. Well, I stepped out of that, but I had to build a life to get to that point. And I would suspect that that's exactly what Oliver's living right now, trying to build a life and thinking just a few more years, just a few more years. If this investment just materializes, if this growth just happens, if there's just a bit of money in my mortgage, maybe I can change my life. And how many years passes by before you reflect back on all of that? So it's not about a mortgage, it's not about bosses, it's not about emails, because that's the trap in all of this, right? It's the sacrifice of just one more year. But fascinating topics, right? Fascinating topics. Thank you to both of those viewers for leaving those questions. You know, it's to be able to just stitch them together and not be the centerpiece of that, for me, was really fascinating. So thank you, Oliver. Thank you, Seshi. Let me know what you think of both of those comments down below. Like I say, neither of them are wrong, just very different viewpoints.